Hello everyone! Welcome to Untold Story, the channel where we explore the most impressive and lesser-known events in history. Today we travel to the 4th century BC to discover one of the most fascinating episodes of Alexander the Great's conquest, the Siege of Tyre. This event not only revealed Alexander's military brilliance, but also his tenacity, ingenuity, and willingness to overcome obstacles that would have discouraged many other leaders. Alexander the Great, one of the greatest conquerors in history, would stop at nothing in his ambition to defeat the Persian Empire and extend the power of Macedonia throughout the known world. The Siege of Tyre was one of the greatest challenges he faced in his epic campaign towards the conquest of Asia, and the way it unfolded once again showed the young king's strategic and tactical genius. Alexander had inherited the throne of Macedonia in 336, following the assassination of his father, King Philip II. Before long, he consolidated his control over Greece and prepared for the greatest adventure of his life, the invasion of the Persian Empire, led by King Darius III. They controlled a vast territory stretching from Egypt to India, and Alexander was determined to destroy that power and conquer the entire known world. After crossing the Hellespont in 334, he launched his Persian campaign with a series of spectacular victories, such as the Battle of the Granicus and the famous Battle of Issus, where he defeated Darius III. With these victories, he had already begun to liberate the Greek city-states that had been under Persian control, and his reputation as an invincible general grew larger. However, the next stage would be a real challenge. To ensure his advance into the heart of the Persian Empire, he needed to control the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. This would not only ensure the supply of provisions and the safety of his fleet, but would also allow him to cut off the Persian sea access and secure their flanks as he marched east. In this context, Tyre became a crucial strategic obstacle. Tyre was an ancient Phoenician city, located on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean in what is now Lebanon. By Alexander's time, it was already famous for its economic and cultural importance, but what made it difficult to conquer was its geography. The city was divided into two parts, one mainland and the other, more important, located on a fortified island about 800 meters from the coast. The island city was surrounded by walls that reached 45 meters in height, making it a true natural fortress. In addition, its inhabitants were known for their naval prowess, which made any attack by sea extremely dangerous. After his victories at Issus and other Phoenician cities, Alexander sent emissaries to Tyre in the hope of obtaining its peaceful surrender. Their goal was to use the city as a naval base for their upcoming operations in Egypt. Tyrians offered Alexander to perform sacrifices in their mainland city, but refused to allow them to enter the island city. For Alejandro, this was unacceptable. He knew that leaving a hostile city in his rear could jeopardize his entire campaign, so he decided to take Tyre by force. The problem was that it was impregnable from the sea, and Alexander did not have a powerful fleet to launch a direct naval attack. But if he could not bring his army to Tyre by sea, he would take it by land. To reach the island, Alexander ordered the construction of a mast that would connect the coast with the island city. This causeway would be about 800 meters long and wide enough to allow the passage of his infantry and siege machinery. Alexander hoped that Mole would allow him to bring siege towers and battering rams to the walls of Tyre. This construction was a titanic undertaking. The soldiers used stones and debris from the old mainland city to begin building the causeway, inching toward the island. However, the Tyrians, seeing the danger that loomed over their city, launched constant attacks from the sea against the builders. They used their ships to harass Alexander's soldiers and, on one occasion, launched a surprise offensive in which they set fire to the first structures on the causeway. Despite these setbacks, Alexander refused to give up. He ordered the mast to be rebuilt, this time wider and more robust. In addition, he began to look for a solution to the naval problem. Fortunately, many of the Phoenician cities he had conquered had fleets, and their inhabitants were skilled navigators. He gathered ships from Sidon, Byblos, and other Phoenician cities, and together with the Cyprus fleet, managed to form a strong navy to challenge the Tyrians at sea. With his new fleet, he launched an amphibious attack on Tyre. Their goal was to destroy the Tyrian ships and block any supplies that could reach the city by sea. Despite the bravery of the Tyrian defenders, the numerical and tactical superiority of the Macedonian fleet soon began to tip the scales in Alexander's favor. Tyrian ships were destroyed or captured, and the city was effectively cut off from the outside. As the bulk advanced and the Macedonian fleet controlled the sea, Alexander began to bring his siege towers closer to the walls of Tyre. These towers, covered with skins to protect them from fire, were equipped with catapults and battering rams. From the towers, the Macedonians hurled shells at the city's defenses, while battering rams relentlessly pounded the walls. Tyrians, however, were not willing to surrender easily. Using all sorts of defensive tactics, such as hurling Greek fire at siege engines, they managed to inflict considerable casualties on Alexander's forces. At one point, they built a ship filled with flammable materials, set it on fire, and directed it against the mass, causing extensive damage and further delaying Alexander's efforts. However, after 7 months of siege, the situation of the Tyrians became untenable. The mass was almost complete, and Alexander had absolute control of the sea. Eventually, Macedonian forces managed to breach the city walls. What followed was bloody and brutal combat. Alexander's troops entered Tyre and unleashed a massacre. Thousands of defenders were killed, and many more were sold into slavery. Only citizens who sought refuge in temples were spared, including women and children. The fall of Tyre was a devastating blow to the Persian Empire and marked a pivotal moment in Alexander's campaign. Although the conquest of Tyre was costly in time and resources, the success of the siege allowed Alexander to continue his march into Egypt, where he was welcomed as a liberator and crowned as pharaoh. The Siege of Tyre is remembered as one of the most remarkable feats of Alexander the Great's career. Not only did he show his ability to adapt to complicated situations, but also his unwavering determination to overcome any obstacle. With the fall of Tyre, Alexander secured control of the eastern Mediterranean coast, opening the way for his later conquest of Egypt. This was one of the most significant moments in the great campaign that would take Alexander from Greece to the borders of India. This story is not only a testament to Alexander's military genius, but also a lesson in how leadership, innovation, and perseverance can transform an apparent disadvantage into a decisive advantage. Thank you for joining us on this dive into the Siege of Tyre. If you liked this episode, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss more fascinating stories here in Untold History. See you in the next one.